Let me ask you, who wants to volunteer this? What does digital transformation mean to you?
No clue.
No? Okay. How about you, Scott? Well, you know what digital means, and you know what transformation means. Now put the two together.
Keeping
And
up with technology, keeping up with the movement of where digital is going.
I thought we had digital phones like forever. What are we transforming?
Digital doesn't sound like the right word.
Yeah, we're digital. We've been doing digital phones since like the mid '90s. What's up with that? Anybody else can think of digital transformation? Well, digital transformation isn't about digital phones. That not at all. So digital transformation is taking a customer and helping them move from a legacy way of doing something to a new digitally transformed industry, such as mobile, social, and emerging technologies, even technologies we don't even know about. And it's all about changing the way they are doing business today to help their customers, okay? So in the digital transformation world, and we'll talk about this, in the digital transformation world, business owners will spend a lot of money trying to make their employees more productive so that they can find more time to spend with their customers. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, right? If I'm more productive, if I can, do more stuff on my desktop and things are integrated and I digitally transform my workforce, I ought to be able to have more time with the customers. 60% of all business owners spend money trying to transform their business, their own business. And so that leaves about 40% of all business owners try to transform their business to help their customers out. But the 40% of dollars spent supporting their customers super exceeds the amount of money that they make by delighting their customers and keeping their customers and things like that. So digital transformation should be trying to transform your business to help your customers first, and then along the way, you're going to transform your business internally. Now, if your, salespeople are writing on stone tablets, and they're those type of things, you got to do something. You got to get them that new technology called cell phones, and a few things like that. That's probably a smart thing to do, but it's all about helping your customers, because the competitive environment today and these born-in-the-cloud providers, people that are doing stuff faster, smarter, better, the 8x8s and all in the world, it feels like that they've got to jump on us. Now, they don't have the technology, they don't have the things that we can do, and they don't have the the quality of infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. But nobody cares about that. Business owners care about delighting their customers. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about digital transformation. We're going to talk about what digital is, digitalization, and digital transformation, opportunities and challenges, all of this blockchain, IoT, ABC, XYZ stuff that we're hearing about. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your customers? And then, of course, where does Avaya fit in all of this? Because is Avaya IoT? I don't make IoT devices. So where does Avaya fit? Are we in cyber intelligence? Not really, but let's talk about it. Blockchain? We don't do blockchain. We're not Bitcoin. We don't buy things or take Bitcoin from customers to buy things. So where do we fit? In artificial intelligence, automation. Automation probably is an easy one. We automate all sorts of stuff. But you'll understand when I get done with this. So let's look at this a second. Too busy to learn about digital transformation. Nope. Don't have time for it. We're just doing things the way we do things. We're selling those premise-based systems and keeping the lights on. And dang, if you don't need any analog trunks and some digital phones and, some in an IP Office V2 gateway, we don't want to talk to you. Even though the whole world is transforming around you, there's just new ways of doing things, and that's the point. You know, there's stuff going on out there that we have to pay attention to as salespeople and business owners to understand that. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but let me kind of explain it to you. So digital transformation starts with digitized and then digitalization. What does that mean? Digitized means we can go back in the day and we can say we have digitized voice. We went from analog voice to digitized voice, okay? And we're able to send it over a network, okay? So we've digitized the ability with voice. We've digitized music, right? And now that we've digitized music, we don't have to play albums on a scratchy old needle anymore, and we can get, you know, studio quality music. We move towards a paperless office, right? By being able to do things with documentation and storage and all that. Electronic medical records, for one, okay? That's digitizing medical records for some reason, you know, and we'll get to what that reason is. We have gone from going to the post office with a letter to going to email, okay? So we've digitized our ability to send a letter, right? And then we talked about electronic medical records. So that's digitization. So now we've got all of this digital data, right? Digitalization is to be able to do something with that data. All right. So for digitized voice, I've created an application like a soft phone app on my iPhone that I can actually, you know, make a phone call over, you know, a device, whatever that device is. I can send my digitized voice over a device, okay, through an application on my phone. That's digitalization. I have the iTunes store with an iPod that can take digitized music. The application is the iTunes store, being able to get it, and my device is the iPod, and I can play digitized music through an iPod. So people think, what made Steve Jobs famous? What made Steve Jobs famous? Okay, like the old Apple PC thing that looked like a little square box. They remember him about that. A lot of people will say the iPhone, right? We all got iPhone. Who's got an iPhone? Yeah, you probably got an Android, right? Yeah, same thing. Android over there? Okay. Lauren, what year did I tell you the iPhone came out? Wait, what year do you think the iPhone came out?
2006.
Huh?
2006.
I would have said 2002.
I think you said 2006.
Yeah, 2007. So go on to the Steve Jobs, YouTube thing and see him launch the iPhone. It feels like it's been out forever, right? I mean, who had a Trio before that, or maybe a Motorola thing,
BlackBerry.
or a BlackBerry, It seems like forever we've been beyond that, right? So, digitalization is to be able to write applications. Like we took maps now, and we're away from maps, and we got GPS. That's the application. We've got iTunes. That's the application. We've got voice apps. Those are the applications. Now, digital transformation. We've got digitized voice. We've got applications that can do something with the digitized voice. Now, how do we transform business with these applications? Okay, so what's a business that has been transformed by digitization of information, that writes an application, and all of us use it to buy things, hint, hint, wink, wink, on a daily basis? Amazon. Okay? So they've taken all of their stock and they've digitized it. They can present it in their Amazon, website, and I can sit there with e-commerce and I can one-touch click, and it'll be to me the same day. That's digital transformation. Now, who is the richest guy in the world?
Warren Buffett.
Far from it.
Is it like a Saudi prince or something?
Could be. Saudi princes is pumping oil out of the ground. How much better could that be? The richest guy in the world is the owner of Amazon.
Oh,
And do you think he's in the business of selling things? No, he's in the business of the digitization or the digital transformation of merchandise. He's shutting down retail stores by doing what he's doing. He's transformed his business from a what? From a bookstore? We used to go into Amazon and buy books. To now, I don't buy anything from a retail store, nothing. My daughter gets her food. She has it delivered to the house because it doesn't cost her anymore and she doesn't have to go to the store. So those are digitally transformed businesses that they couldn't have done it without digitizing something and without having an application that's easy for the masses to get to. So there's like digital transformation, right?
I got another example. I got a hotspot the other day from AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
The whole store operates on iPads and their phones. They
Yep.
scan from their phones. They do everything on the iPads or tablets or whatever they use them. It was really interesting to watch.
basically improving the customer journey.
Quite advanced, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about technology trends and digital customer experience, to your point, okay? I would probably say mobility is at the core of all of the digital transformation, okay? So when I am going to the airport, I look at my my Concorde, okay, app, because it's very easy for me to pull up the app and see what time my flight is. I pull up the American Airlines app because I want to see, exactly what gate that I'm at, and if it's time to check in for my airline, I check in from this thing, right? And all at the same time, I'm playing my favorite Chris Ledoux music off of my, my iTunes, my Pandora, because I love Pandora. Only pay $5.95 a month, and I get all the music that I want. When we're doing everything here, okay? I have a Avaya CX app. Does everybody have Avaya CX? And you can see the events that are going on. You can send documents, and we're going to be, able to order things. And ScanSource is integrating with CX, and they have content about all their webinars and things like that. I can stay very informed as a salesperson on what I need. I can download docs. I can do all of that kind of stuff. I can get my Equinox from here. Not only, big deal, make phone calls. Look, I'm making a phone call, I could have done that without Equinox. But I can actually get into a conference bridge, and I can do conferencing. I can, text people, through a secure application. I can do all sorts of things. And I could just keep on going down. So mobility is very, very important from digital transformation, because if, for instance, Schwab just sent me a text. It says that they've taken some investment that I have with them and they've changed it and done this with it, and if I want to go online and check on what they exactly did and when they did it, I can just do. Damn. I can see what's going on in the banking industry. My dentist, he sends me I called in, I make an appointment, and in 3 days before the appointment, they send me a text to say, did you remember you have an appointment? And it has increased their appointment sales and decreased the amount of people that don't show up for appointments. So that's that, those kind of apps. So you can go on and on and on and say, how much in 2007 has Steve Jobs transformed digitally the industry by having something like this or an Android or whatever kind of device that you have. So applications and mobility is sort of, very important in our industry. Now, where did we determine Amazon sits?
They're in the cloud. Right?
So the cloud. So, they're in the cloud. So cloud is very important to what we're doing. Where do you think these applications sit? In the cloud. My doctor's office is a one-man show. He's got, 5 people that work in there, someone that cleans, someone that does this and that and everything else. So where do you think he can afford an application that outcalls to everybody and sends text messages and all that? He's outsourcing that to a cloud provider that does something in the medical industry. So, very important in the cloud. Our telephony stuff is in the cloud. We're trying to sell more cloud. Cloud is terribly important, because I would probably say things like the Amazon Web Services data centers and other data centers like that are redundant and duplicated, and they're power, they have everything that you would need to safely be able to do things in the cloud. So when we start to take a look at things like predictive analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, these are all going to be cloud-based items. And we're going to talk more about that. I won't get into too much detail. So cloud deployment. Internet of information. Okay, so I can find, if the internet says it must be true, right? Personally, if I don't know a topic like artificial intelligence or machine learning or whatever, where would you go? I go to Wiki. Wiki, artificial intelligence. Wiki, whatever. Now anybody can post a wiki, but Wiki's pretty good. It gives you links, shows you pictures, it gives you good, easy information to understand a complex subject. So Internet of information, you can get a ton of information. But what is the value of the internet? If all I'm doing is playing music and doing those type of things, is the internet actually providing value? Let me go ahead and build it out. Who's got Netflix? Okay, who's got Google Chromecast? Who's got we can go on with Amazon, Airbnb. These are businesses that started with digitized information, that started with an application on digitized information. What about the Uber? Where's the Uber at? Is that? That's Uber, right? Oh my God. Talking about Yellow Cab being put on their heels, right? I mean, you could always feel like Yellow Cab was going to show up no matter what. Yeah. The Uber is crazy, or whatever other, internet type taxi service that you get, whatever they call it. Lyft. Yeah. And now the Uber driver is a Lyft driver and vice versa.
They got both stickers on their car.
Yeah, exactly. And I was actually in London, and I did the Uber, and I got picked up in London and taken to, and it's so it's everywhere. It's just crazy, right? So that is where we've taken something like a consumer product, where we thought the telephone and an application like an iPod with music and things like that has now morphed themselves into huge businesses that are transforming our lives, right? It's that will tell you the real value and proposition of, now this isn't, I guess it isn't a biased slide, but again, private, public, and hybrid, so Mr. Customer, what are you doing? What do you need to do? I want to be secure. I don't trust the cloud, but I've got this data farm, and and you've got HP servers, and I've got these kind of servers. Can you virtualize your stuff? Yes, I can. You can take IP Office and put them on your servers, and you can do that in your private cloud. Or we can put that up in Amazon Web Services or Google or wherever ScanSource has their powered by product. Green Cloud. Okay, it's in the cloud. So kind of cool from that standpoint. IoT, AI, extreme analytics. So I would probably say, so tell me, what do you think IoT is? IoT. What do the letters stand for? And then we'll go from there. Internet of Things. Okay. So you remember when we talked about the data network, do you have a switch? Are you used to installing a wireless system? Have you ever installed a router before, right? Who has a alarm system in their house or their apartment?
I have one, but it's never turned on.
You do? Oh, okay. Anybody heard of Simply Safe or something like that? Okay. So I've got maybe 50 Internet of Things in my house, and I don't even think of them as Internet of Things. But every window and every door that opens and closes is sending information to a controller, which is sending information to an alarm system. And all that data is being collected and analyzed, or if it needs to be analyzed, okay? So I've got an Internet of Things, okay, that's creating tons of data because I'm going in and out, or my wife is, and taking the dog out and the grandkids and da-da-da-da-da. And all day long we're generating, and if something happens, it sends me a text on my phone, okay, and I can sit there on my app on that phone, and I can actually correct problems that are going on in my house. And we all know about the doorbells and the and the alarms and all that kind of stuff. But that's all good if all I'm doing is getting alarmed. But if someone breaks in when the alarm is set off, what's being done about it? My wife's at the store and I'm up here in Greenville. So the artificial intelligence is going to take control, and it's going to call 911. It's going to alert the control desk, and it's going to start to perform some things, and it's going to launch a call to me. So not only do we need to send data, we need to receive data, we need to analyze data, and we need to do something with the data. Okay? So where does all this data sit? Does it sit in maybe a big data storage place? Do we have like tons of data that are going on? Do we need to know about big data? Does everybody hear about big data, IoT, AI, big data? All right? No? I'll tell you about big data. It's not even on here, I don't think. It's part of extreme analytics, I guess. But let's say, for instance, you have a 100-agent call center, 50-agent call center, 1,000-agent call center. Remember I told you about the 80,000-agent call center? Okay, we want to know in that call center, we want to know, what's going on in that call center. We want to know the estimated wait time. We want to know the average place in queue. We want to know how long an agent's been on a call. We want to know, what buttons and conditions the agent is on the call. We're collecting all that kind of data, right? And we're sending it over to a call management system that you're upgrading, right? And the call management system has, a couple hundred reports, right? And after a certain amount of time, we're going to either store that data on another server someplace, or we're going to override it because we don't have enough money to store the data.
6 months, right?
Whatever, depending on the size of the server and the hard drive and all that kind of stuff. But what's really going on in that call center, if you had like a couple hundred agents, you're probably getting 1 million data messages coming into that call center. We're getting SIP messages, we're getting network messages, we're getting alarms, we're getting conditions of the agent in queue, they're moving through queue, we're playing announcement messages, we're doing all this stuff. And then we're going to show up and we're going to present on the desktop, where they've been on the website, and what they did on the website, and now we're going to share screens, and we're going to do all, and it's creating this enormous amount of data, and we don't really know what we're going to do with it. So we're going to store it on servers, and we're going to hope someday that we can analyze that data and figure out, some things, right? So we figured out IoT, and we've got, we're sending data to the huge data store. Now we've got to analyze it. And maybe we have to analyze it real time. Let's say, for instance, we have the ability to be able to, on a call, look at what's going on in that call real time, listen to the voice of that call, analyze the voice that's being spoken on that call, pick out words on that call, not like we're going to analyze it after the call is over with, but real time we're going to be able to do things, prompt the agent, tell them what's going on, remind them to ask certain questions. So real time analytics about a call, okay? And then we can do something with that analytics. Can we push information to the customer? Can we play them messages in queue? Can we do certain things that are pertinent to our customer, So that's probably a bad example of analytics. But let's say, for instance, we're doing some analytics on the tons of data that's in a data store. And you're going to hear the term eventually, something called a data lake. You might have heard of data mart. That's where we're sending data to in a particular format to a data storage where we can go and get that data. A data lake is where we're just dumping point of sale information, contact center information, telephone system information. We're sending alarm information. We're just sending all sorts of information into this data store. We don't care about the format. And then we're going to run some analytics on all of that. And we're going to figure out 6 ways from Kevin Bacon why Lauren called in. Lauren likes pink. And Lauren likes to shop here. And whenever Lauren shops there, she calls in here. And every time she calls in here, she does this. And then so when you're on a website, you wonder why they're pushing information to you. That's kind of, how come they're pushing hunting information to me, or, information about guns, and maybe why, hunting trips or whatever. And I'm going, this is crazy. How do they know that, Because all of this analytics that are running in the background can actually give me a better customer experience, because now I'm looking at not pink dresses when I'm searching a website. I'm actually, looking at stuff that I care about. And you know what? I'm going to spend more money buying things that I care about than pink dresses, right? So, analytics is one of those things that go on. And then security, e-commerce, Amazon, one-touch purchase. They've got my credit card information, right? And they're going to hopefully not allow it to get hacked, unlike Facebook and their 80 million users that got hacked, right? So it has to be very secure. So we're going to look at a technology that was used in the finance industry, Bitcoin, okay? And we're going to figure out a way that we can use it in our applications to make us infinitely secure and possibly impossible to hack, unless you're a federal government or the Russians, because they're probably spending a full-time job on trying to figure out how to hack Bitcoin. What am I trying to say here? Getting late in the afternoon. Blockchain, okay? But that is a technology that was born over here, okay, for the finance industry, that now we can start writing applications, and everybody's going to be writing that level of security into their applications. So if you thought of this as separate technologies, I would say to you that in most cases that it all plays together. Okay, so IoT, AI, blockchain, analytics, all that. And let me give you an example. Healthcare. Stupid example, actually, but it's a neat example. So I've got this manufacturer of things that I clean my hands with, right? Squirt, 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 clean my hands, I'm clean hands. Every time you go into a hospital room, you see the nurse clean their hands, right? And, you're watching, that one didn't clean their hands, but that one did, and that one should have, and that one, as they're going out, they clean their, what the heck? And what I sat down with a vendor that, works with ScanSource, and they built an IoT hand cleaning thing. So you put a chip, a badge on your shirt here, and you walk up to this thing, and you wash your hands, and your badge turns green. You walk into the room, and I'm the patient in the room, and if the badge is green, have at me. Do whatever you want. Now you got clean hands, at least. But if the badge is green, doctor walks in the room and the badge is red, you say, Doc, badge is red. Doc walks over, pump, 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 badge turns green, and now, so big deal. What does that mean? Well, to the insurance company, it means that patient, if you got 1 million patients that are insured with my insurance company, and 5 of them die a day because we got some sort of weird bacteria that's being introduced by the guy that's sick next door, and I'm just making this stuff up as I go, but, there's actual, cause and effect of being able to clean your hands and look at patients, and they've proven that, a healthy patient is a good patient. Now, I check out and I go home, right? And I'm supposed to take my medicine, right? But I hate taking medicine, and I'm feeling okay, but even though I'm supposed to take the medicine the 30 days like the bottle says and the doctor told me to, all right? And it's critical because, what they've proven is that if you're like a liver patient and you don't take your medicine at a certain time, there's a high percentage of people that'll be back in the hospital. Their liver will, and then you'll end up having to get a new liver. So what we did is we put an IoT, not us, but someone put an IoT sensor in the top of a pill bottle or a bottom of a pill bottle. And whenever that pill bottle tips over, It sends information either through your cellular phone or through the wireless back to the hospital, and it stores that information. Okay? So, day 3, stores the information. Day 4, no information. They've got analytics that are just constantly running. And they say, whoa, wait a second, Pete Rogers didn't take his medicine on day 4. Maybe we need to have a call automatically launched to Pete Rogers and say, hi, this is, the Greenville Hospital. We noticed that you didn't take your medicine yesterday. Please press 1 if you have and it's a mistake, or please press 2 and you need to talk to a nurse. So to be able to take a thing like a pill bottle and have an IoT device on it and have analytics and storing that data, in there, and being able to have a doctor run a report on how often you took your medicine when you come in for the checkup, or now I can actually call into the hospital with video conferencing and be able to talk to the doctor, and he can look at how many times you did take your medicine, because if he said, Pete, did you take all your medicine for 30 days? Of course, doc. He doesn't know. He wonders why, my liver still hurts. And those are the things that are going to save hospital organizations tons of money, little things like that. But as we're starting to look at heart monitors in the hospital room, and we're looking at things like pill bottles and cleaning hands and all that, what are we doing at home? In a hospital or a doctor's organization, you still have things like big generators, and you have big air conditioning systems, and you have data networks, and you have all of these things that are going to be IoT enabled, okay? And we can prevent things from happening. Have you seen the IBM commercial where, the guys walk up to the big set Boeing 747, and there's a PC that says, hello, how you doing? You're going to need to replace chip number 12345 because it's going to fail in 4 days. Guys look at each other and go, who's the new guy? Right? So they've put analytics and they've put IoT into their ability to analyze a something as big as a Boeing jet that could save hundreds of lives in the event of a failure. So things like that. So my question is this: what device in 1982 do you think came out, or they were experimenting with at the time? Carnegie Mellon University. Guess? Any guess? Well, there was they did a test on a Coke machine. Okay, you might not realize it, but when you check into a hotel and on each floor they got a Coke machine, you might want to take a look at it and see if it has an antenna on the top of the Coke machine. All right, so big deal. You don't sell antennas for Coke machines. Why do you care? Why should you care?
Wi-Fi.
Need Wi-Fi. Thing doesn't talk to itself, right?
All the restaurants, fast food, with the new Coke machines have an antenna.
Yep.
Because Coke automatically monitors the system.
Yep. Or the vendor does. When to go out there and fill up the machine. Because if it's an empty machine, I can't spend money with you. Customer isn't happy.
That's one place where they need the hand cleaner thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you're seeing more and more of these things where you walk into a grocery store and the grocery store knows, certain things about you. Or as you're walking down the aisle, if there is a coupon that pertains to popcorn, it's going to pop up on your phone going, look to your right, dummy. There's popcorn on sale. And does everybody have their phone on? Is everybody paying attention to it? But can you upsell a percentage of people? Because there's a younger group of people like Lauren that always has their phone next to their ear, and it's always binging, bing, 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 as they're walking down the aisle, right? So these are examples of a stupid thing like a cell phone with an application working over a network that's transforming the grocery industry, So that's digital transformation, kind of in a nutshell. So that was that. The term IoT was adopted in 1999, okay? And the catapult of all of this was not the BlackBerry, because we didn't have cool little apps on the BlackBerry, right? it was the iPhone in 2007, that really got this moving with some of the applications that they were doing. So this has kind of been around for a while. We've been digitizing things, we've been digitalizing things with applications, and now we're transforming business finally with the things that we're doing, right? So God only knows what's going to be happening in the next 10 years probably. So IoT, we talked a little bit about this, okay? So a device is smart, connected, senses, actuates, communicates. What does one-on-one, 1M and MM mean?
On the menu.
Yeah? So it's like a human to human, human to machine, a machine to machine, okay? So kind of from an IoT device standpoint, you might have an IoT, device that talks to, one human speaks to you to another human, that type of thing. But that was a terrible explanation. But what we do from an Avaya world is we can make dumb things smart and smart things smarter. And what I mean by that is that we have an application that isn't necessarily an enterprise application, and I'll talk about it, and it's called Breeze. You heard about Breeze? Okay, what do you know about Breeze?
Basically, it's the platform that you add snap-ins to of any kind. I mean, it could be a snap-in to text somebody, or it could be a snap-in to, anything you can think of. You can build a snap-in for it.
Okay. Or not. So a snap-in is a pre-built workflow, that has documentation and everything that you can monetize and do something with, so that's a snap-in. I could just have simply write a workflow in Breeze. Your answer is correct, okay? So has anybody sold an IVR before? IVR. Sold an IVR before? Never. Okay. What is an IVR?
So voice recording, so basically when they call in, right now, they dial this to get to here, and then, or they say this to get to here,
right?
And it records a voice and does what they need it to.
Right. So does our IVR that we sell
I
integrate to Cisco,
would imagine so.
Mitel?
Yeah.
probably
We
something
didn't.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
we used another one.
Yeah, you probably use Chris Herring and Computer
Small
Instruments, right? My point is this, is that if you've been in this industry for a length of time, and I've sold a bunch of IVRs, what an IVR usually is a platform that generally has nothing on it. You're sitting down with the customer and you're saying to the customer, what challenges do you have in your business and what do you want to solve for? And I can get a software developer to write any application that you can practically think, that's call center, that's banking, that's whatever, that integrates to my phone system, that delivers calls into a call center or can outcall and do things with, like Predictive Outreach Manager, Palm, kind of was born on an IVR platform. But normally the IVRs that we have today don't integrate with the world, okay? But with Breeze, we can take just about any kind of integration, any kind of API, any kind of connectivity or language that a system is speaking, and we can do something with that, okay? And we can create a workflow around that. So the challenge that people have with IoT is IoT devices can detect that a manufacturing machine has a problem, right? And that IoT device can send information to that IoT, that manufacturing system database, and that database can, probably send an email, maybe outcall, maybe update a big data database, to just collect information. And if it sees an error that's going on, it can do some things. And that's fine, but that database probably doesn't integrate with 10 other databases. You know, what do I need to do to update manufacturing? What do I need to do to bring a group of people together in the event that this big machine on an assembly line is possibly breaking down or we're having issues? You know, or so what we can do is we can communications enable things that are in IoT, you know. So we take heart monitors, and the heart monitor is getting certain conditions and certain alarms, and then we can let people know that, you know, from that type of thing. So, you know, a lot of IoT devices are fairly dumb, and they need intelligence, and we can help enable that intelligence, you know, with some of the products that we have. Now, people say, well, that's an enterprise product. You know, I've got IP offices, or I've got third-party products. But we take, let's take an example like, I talked about pizza all day long, right? Papa John's. What do you think Papa John's has? How many stores do you think they have? Hundreds?
Thousands.
4,000 stores.
Okay.
In 700 of the franchise stores, they've got North Stars. How old is a North Star? 1990s. Do you think a North Star can provide me information, especially integrated with SIP, information that that can show me how many calls it's received, when it's received calls, on a ring no answer? It can play messages across 700 stores and deliver contact data to my IT department or my line of business on what happened when I advertised in the New York area and it hit 20 of the stores all at the same time. Do you think you can do that? And oh, by the way, the main location is a Siemens. Siemens isn't really Siemens anymore, but it's a Siemens.
Making it harder and harder.
It's making it harder and harder. Well, with Breeze, we wrote an application. We changed all of the trunking they had at you know, all of these stores to SIP. In some fashion, and I'll tell you what those fashion are. You call the 800 number, you know, and or you call the main number of that particular store, and it routes in on SIP trunks, and it goes through a session border controller, and the call rings down to the location, but it takes one leg of the call and it sends it over to the Breeze application, and all during that call, the Breeze application is sitting there monitoring it. It's monitoring a ring no answer, it's monitoring the call, it's monitoring whether or not the customer hang up first or this hang up first. It, you know, how long the call was, whether or not the call was answered, what happens if that pizza location in the New York area is down, did it send the call somewhere else? We're collecting all of this information for all of these stores, right? But more than that, Papa John's, did I say Papa John's originally? Yeah. Papa's been having some problems lately, if you've been following, you know. So they have an application, a mobile application. You can go on the Papa John's mobile application and you can order pizzas. And I put the order in and I do the e-commerce thing, and you know, and it gives me an estimated wait time of when my pizza's going to be there. And it kind of tells me, you know, who's coming with my pizza and when they're going to be there, and that kind of information. And I can push alerts out to your phone saying that the driver's almost there. Get ready. All of that information, all of those interactions are being done through Breeze. And those aren't enterprise systems. Those are, remember, 700 North Stars. You know, and what we've done is an over-the-top application where we're able to do this for a business because they had a problem. They could either upgrade 700 stores with something new that still couldn't do what they needed it to do. That would be very expensive. Or they could buy one Breeze, or maybe a duplicated Breeze platform to be able to provide information that they wanted and they needed. So a lot of, when you're thinking of solving problems, it's not just solving problems in Avaya customers that have Avaya product. Now you can go into Cisco customers, and you can go into Mitel customers, and you can go into XYZ customers. Or telephony isn't even the issue. Remember, we're in the hospital, and we're talking about heart monitors. We're talking about air conditioning systems and all that, and nobody cares about the phone system. You know, that's just phone guys talk about that stuff. We're talking about integrating with the electronic medical records organization like Meditech, Cerner, and others, that we can dip into the database, or we can send information to their database and update information for them and monitor pill bottles and all that. And nobody's even talked about a phone system yet. All we're talking about is monitoring stuff and then doing stuff once we do monitor it. So it's a great story when we talk about what we can do with IoT. We don't even build an IoT device. We just make dumb stuff smart and smart things smarter with our applications. So, a couple statistics. How many cell phones do you think are in the world today? It's not that big a number. Million? Yeah. How many?
50 billion?
No, cell phones.
I was kidding. I was just reading over.
Yeah, I know, right? That's good. IoT devices.
10 million.
Yeah. 2.7 billion, give or take, you know, a rounding number, right? Yeah, 3 billion, whatever. How many people in the world?
6 billion.
7 point something billion, give or take a trillion or a zillion or a million or whatever it is, you know, just 7 point something billion. You look it up on the Google. Help me out here. And then we take a look at how many IoT devices by 2020. 50 billion IoT devices. I kind of heard the number between 20 and 30 billion, but this slide says 50, so we'll go with it. It really doesn't matter. It's a lot of devices. What about these devices? What does that number say to you? That number to me says ching ching. Why does it say ching ching? Because out of those 50 billion, if I got like, you know, 1 million devices that I'm solving a problem for a customer or a bunch of customers, I don't need 50 billion, I just need 1 million. And I think 1 billion is that 1,000 million or 100 million?
Billion?
The Google will tell us.
There are 7.6 billion people in the world.
7.6, dang. Pretty good for an old guy. But what I'm trying to say is there's a ton of opportunity out there. Do I sell IoT endpoints? The growth rate is out of the. Do I sell analytics? Do I sell data storage? Do I sell, you know, applications that can take all of that information together, which is kind of the Avaya stuff? You know, can I work in different verticals trying to solve business problems like, you know, healthcare, public safety, things like that? There's just so much opportunity out there. You just have to learn about what IoT is, what AI is, what blockchain is, what, you know, robotics is, what automation, those type of things. Because that's the conversation that's going on these days, okay? So Gartner predicts, you can read it yourself, 85% of their relationships with enterprise without interacting with a human. I hate to even think about that, you know, because I'm old school. I like picking up the phone and talking to somebody. But you know what? I like it when I get a message from my doctor saying you got an appointment. I don't need to talk to a secretary about that. I like it when Schwab pushes me an alert that they've made a trade. I like it when, you know, I'm walking through a grocery store and they're telling me about ways I can save money. You know, I like these things. So that's where, you know, artificial intelligence comes into play, is that it can take information and it can do something with that information, right? And do we deal with artificial intelligence on a day-to-day basis? Who has a Amazon Alexa? Alexa, play Chris Ledoux. Alexa, start the egg timer. Alexa, change the channel. Alexa, go to sleep. Alexa, don't talk back to me. So we have, you know, so we're doing a lot of things over here, you know, and we know all about IBM Watson and jet airplanes, and we know about Amazon and Alexa, and now we're, you know, controlling devices in a home. We've got refrigerators that can tell us how many eggs we have, and when we need to fill up the milk, and, things that are possibly pertinent to us, And then what do we do over here, I would probably say in the red things, today, we're doing natural language speech, right? We're doing natural language processing. When you call into a whatever, I can sit there and understand what you're saying, or I can ask you questions and get answers and do something with it. Speaker say one. Please speak what you would like for me to do. When you call Delta Airlines, please, it's voice enabled, and just tell me what flight you're on, or tell me if you need to change a ticket reservation. And they're open-ended questions. They're not yes or no, ones or zeros. I can actually do natural language speech, and I can do speech recognition. Expert systems. Does anybody know what expert systems is? So in our communication manager and our Aura infrastructure and our enterprise systems, we've been monitoring data going to those systems and alarming coming from those systems, and we've been automatically fixing those systems based upon that information like forever. Long before any of these alphabet soup had come around with AI and OS and all that kind of stuff, we've been doing expert systems. So when you buy Support Advantage, you get expert systems. If you don't have Support Advantage, you don't get expert systems. And we can prove to you by spending a little bit more for Support Advantage, you're going to have less trouble calls. And we can prove it because we got all of the analytics over all the years that say we are going to do that. Planning, schedule, optimization, robotics. All of these types of things is artificial intelligence. So if I said I want to get into the artificial intelligence business, I would say, well, what part of that business are you going to get into? You're going to get into machine learning? Okay, so machines are talking to machines, and they're sitting there looking at information that's coming from this machine and storing it, and it's storing it, and it's learning about the alarms, and it's seeing what's going on, and then it finally comes up with a okay, there's nothing going on with this machine because every 1 hour I receive something, and for the last, 3 years, certain things happen, and I do certain things, and it sort of learns on itself, And, that's a bad example, but, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going on with machine learning. And these are all the types of things that, you're going to be, involved with, whether you like it or not, if you stay in this industry for any length of time. Facial recognition, image recognition. I'm public safety. I'm walking downtown. There's a big concert. We just had a shooting out in Las Vegas, right? And now we've got cameras that are doing facial recognition of bad guys, and it's running through the databases at maybe quantum speeds, that cut through data like a knife through butter and like nothing else we've ever had before. And we're doing things today that we could never do yesterday. Very interesting stuff, at least to me anyway. So again, voice recognition, seeks answers and performs, what's the weather going to be like today, Alexa? Location and proximity detection. We've got people walking through buildings, walking through convention centers, walking through airports. People know where we're at, what we're doing, those type of things. It feels like Big Brother, but in some cases it's necessary. I'm going to jump past some of this. I think this is, I think the interesting thing about this is there's certain things that AI can do. Are there humans in the picture photo tagging? Will they pay a loan on time? So they're running through the databases and who won't pay, because we can do artificial intelligence and alert us on who that might be, those type of things. But when it comes to, can a computer write a Pulitzer Prize winning novel? Can they create a drug that's going to, cure AIDS? Can they sit down with a soccer team on a soccer field and inspire them to go out and hold 1-0? You need a coach for doing that. And then, do we have the creativity that AI can bring to people like Jay-Z and artists to write, music and do those type of things? So there's certain things that today artificial intelligence can't do. I won't say they never will be able to do, but these are the things that bring humanity to our lives. these are the things that, who cares? You know, we need to automate those things because they aren't, you know, they aren't things that we want to spend human putty on, right? We want to be able to automate that. I'm going to come here, and this is a little bit about blockchain. It's a nascent technology, which means it's a new technology it's blowing the industry away. I get at my home because I'm a nerd. I get IoT magazine, I get Big Data magazine, I get Blockchain magazine. Blockchain talks about AI in their magazines. IoT talks about blockchain and data storage in their magazines, and the data storage guys talk about IoT and blockchain in their magazines. So all of these magazines that are writing articles and doing all of that, all of this is working together. We're talking about blockchain right now, but let's say, for instance, I create a transaction, or I create anything on the net, and I do it right here, and it writes to the database, right? And we have a centralized data storage thing, and it goes from here and it updates to that. Or now I have a decentralized thing that it writes from here to there and maybe to these two things. But whenever I go in and I do a secure transaction, or I do a secure purchase, or I go online someplace and I do an action on Amazon, it writes here and it writes to all of these other locations, and none of that data, unless you go in and hack every one of these locations that you can't actually see, there's no way that you're going to know where it's writing all of this information to, just bits of information. And the only way you can change it is to be able to change all that other information. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on how that's done. It becomes infinitely impossible to be able to change the data there, because if you change it there, it has to be a change across this whole decentralized network. And that's blockchain, basically. So I would recommend going to Wiki, spend a little time around blockchain, and figure out what it means, because when you're going into that business owner, why is it relevant? Well, it may not be relevant to you today, Mr. Business Owner, but I heard you're writing software, or you're looking at a new platform, or you're writing security software, or you're going to buy security software. Are they incorporating blockchain with it? What has that got to do with telephones? Well, nothing. I don't sell telephones. I sell solutions. Telephones is just one thing that I do, although we got millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of phones, right? Make sense? Yeah. So learn a little bit more about that. A little bit about machine learning. It's not AI, but it's a subset of AI. So taking analytics, and being able to write that analytics, and you have a piece of software that's learning from all the information that it's being sent, and then it can start to create algorithms and patterns from the data that it's being sent. Then it can start to do something with it. It might be like you have an FAQ site on your website, right? And the same question gets asked, or different questions get asked, and now we can start to provide answers based upon tons of information that's been sent to us over time. So I'm in a call center, and I notice that other part of our business, customers are calling in and they're always complaining, or we've rolled out a new piece of software, and over in services we're seeing starting to get some errors, and we're seeing some things there, and it's writing that information to a database. Now when the call comes into the call center and I ask, have you ever seen an error that's ever happened in a CM7 when I stand on one foot and I jump up and down, and it pops up, jump up and down on one foot. And then there's a whole information about jumping up and down on one foot. So is that machine learning? It's being able to update things and learn about actions that are going on, in different businesses. Again, a bad example, but just think of machines being able to take information and then being able to learn from it, and then do something from it. Collect data, prepare data, train the model, and then evaluate and improve performance. So this is pretty cool. Here we go with Apple again. 2007, right? The iPhone. Who has an iPhone watch? iWatch. Is it called an iWatch? Apple Watch. Version 3, right? I was on the Google this morning looking at the Apple store at iWatch 3. Because I don't like little pretty iWatches. I need something I can jump in the water and wrestle something and, and beat it over the head and, and come back out of it and say, I'm in the middle of an ocean. Look, my GPS is working. If I fall out of a boat, I can actually see where I'm going to drown. So I need that kind of thing. I do like to swim. But anyway, a study, okay, cardiogram application, EKG readings, and a percentage of them had erratic heartbeats, okay? Engineers used the subject to train a deep learning system to discern patients with arrhythmia versus normal heartbeats. And that's all from a stupid watch. That's $200. All right, so if I was checking out of the hospital and I just had a heart, stent put in my heart, right? And I was an insurance company and I said, here, put this on. Smart device. It could be an Apple Watch. It could be a Samsung. It could be anything. And this thing is going to check my heartbeat. It's going to check my temperature. It's going to check everything, and it's going to constantly be updating information back to my healthcare provider. And I'm going to have artificial intelligence looking at this information, and if I see something erratic going on with my heart or my temperature or my blood or have you seen the commercial where you can take your iPhone and go here and you can see the glucose level of your blood? This, yeah. Well, that's the same thing, So now I can basically do that whole Spock thing where Dr. What's-His-Name scans your body and they know everything that's going on. Will that help, the healthcare industry? Well, the healthcare industry makes money by you being sick. But the insurance company hates paying out of pocket, or pay for people that are being sick. They want to keep people healthy, right? Keep them out of the hospital. Hospitals are expensive. So what you're going to see is that not only can you walk in to your doctor's office and hand them a piece of paper and say, this is what's happened to me over the last month, here's my stats, and oh, by the way, if I'm using that, what's that application where all the food, you can put in how much the calories are, and you've never used that before? MyFitnessPal. You take the MyFitnessPal application, because all of a sudden your lips are getting big and you're sweating and you check yourself into the hospital and you think you have a food allergy, and you're sitting there in the hospital bed and they can't figure out what's wrong with you. They think that you have some sort of flesh-eating disease, but you hand them your MyFitnessPal app and they can look over the last month or two of everything that you've eaten, and they say, you know what, you're allergic to persimmons. When did this thing start? You've only eaten persimmons once out of all the foods that you eat, and you eat bagels about every day, and you eat cheese every third day, and you drink milk never, and but persimmons, we noticed that, and then all of a sudden so I'm making this stuff up as I go. So anyway, so it's good stuff that we're learning from IoT devices, analytics, big data, because we're storing it, we're running analytics on it, and it all kind of works together. So quantum computing, and then I think we'll skip through some of this stuff. But classics, ones and zeros. Everybody knows that digital is ones and zeros, right? It's either on or off. But in quantum computing, it's the position of the ones and zeros, the relationship between the ones and zeros. It takes information and it can look at it from all different directions, from normal digital data. So that would mean that where it used to take me days and days to run through, what's the big, not terabytes, but the biggest amount of data that there is. I can't think of what the, huh? Petabyte? Petabyte? Yeah, petabytes. It cuts through it like butter in a knife. It just rips through it, and it can take a look at all this information and come up with an answer. And that's kind of the direction that we're What are you pointing at?
Called what's the,
Qubit. Called a Qubit?
yeah.
Quantum bit? I'm not sure. But the ability to be able to analyze data at rates that we can't even imagine. And that's kind of the direction that they're going with that and big data and data storage and, you know, all these type of things. I do like this. You got to start with the customer experience and work backwards with the technology. What did I do? Start with the conversation. Let's start with our employees. If we make the employees more productive, we'll have more time to spend with our customers. If you build your stuff for the customers, you're going to keep them. They're going to be happy. You know, then we're going to make more money and we can spend it on the employees. I like this one too if you've never seen it before. You've got to start with the customer experience and work back towards the technology.
Yeah.
So what do you think, how do you think she sees the world compared to him on his phone and her on her phone and all these mobile devices? She doesn't even have a mobile device. So when she calls into a bank, does she want an app? Does she want AI? Does she want automation? Or does she want a human? So how do I know that she is who she is? And you know, and how can I analyze that? And how can I delight her? You know what she has that none of them have? Money, disposable income. She's at the end of her life, and she's got maybe millions compared to this guy who's, you know, maybe starting a second, you know, career and, you know, and owes the bank a ton of money. And then we over here we have the runner that's looking at, you know, heartbeats and steps and health type stuff that, you know, is important to that person. And that's kind of where we're going at it, is that, you know, all of this information has to be contextual depending on who we're dealing with and what kind of person. You know, what age person, a millennial, middle-aged person, an older person, an athlete, you know, that type of thing. Make sense? And then this is kind of like here we're at. With digital transformation, we learn to digitize. We learn to write apps with that digital data. And now we're looking at transforming businesses with that digital data. And what verticals are most important? And if I said to you, what vertical probably has the biggest budget and will spend the most amount of money over the next X amount of years, you would probably say, I'll throw it out, finance, hospitality, let's say public safety. Ooh, that sounds governmental. Or healthcare. Healthcare's got multi-trillion-dollar budgets. So if they could just spend $1 million or $2 million with me, you know, me solving a problem with them, I might want to think about what technology trend, heart monitors, is it patient access coming into a healthcare facility where I got to make the experience better through web, through Talk to Us Now, through chat, through, you know, notification of information back to the patient about their, you know, nurse call or maybe appointment reminders and that, or do I make the patient experience getting late. The in-room care of the patient, okay, patient care, you know, in the room, heart monitors, devices, pump, you know, clean the hands, you know, be able to do all the monitoring, nurse call systems, paging systems for the nurses, make their experience easier. And someone had said, I think last week, that a nurse walks 5 miles a day on shift. Okay, if we can cut down on a little bit of that mileage and make them a little bit more productive because they're always running out to the nurse call station. And then virtual patient, which is what are we doing at the home? How can we make the insurance company pay less money? How can we keep the human healthier? You know, what can we do to remind them to take their medicines, things like that. So picking a vertical, and then once we pick a vertical that we want to concentrate on, and we may be selling across, you know, all of these things, but I can't become an expert at everything. So I want to become an expert at public safety. So I learn all I can from the Avaya website on public safety, what's important around safe schools, you know, what are we doing, you know, to help prevent, you know, school shootings, what can we do to alert, what can we do, all those things. And I'm going to go down and sit down with the line of business. I'm going to sit down with, somebody in those organizations, and they could be the CTO, CIO, or it could be, HR, it could be, possibly just about anybody, sheriff's department, somebody in the line of business. And then I'm able to propose a solution because I understand digital transformation. I understand the future. I'm going to concentrate on a vertical. I'm going to engage the right people at the right level. I'm going to do my in, out, and across questioning. I'm going to do open-ended questions because I'm good at that now. And then I'm going to propose a solution that actually transforms the business. And that would allow you to just about ask for any amount for your proposal because your competitive salesperson isn't going to be doing all of that. And you're going to get good at it, and that's what we have to concentrate on. Now, can you take these big terms and bring it down to mid-market and SME? Well, we did it at Papa John's. We did it at CVS that has all Cisco endpoints. We've done it, time and time again in other locations that aren't considered enterprise. So that's digital transformation.